This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, welcome everyone, and many thanks to our guest speaker today, Richard Ford, who's the principal of Crawford School out at Doonside, and Richard will be coming on very shortly after that. And I just want to let you know, I was feeling a little bit down in the dumps the other day, and a friend came over and he said, "Cheer up, man, it could be worse. You could be stuck underground in a hole full of water." I know he means well.
Very.
Okay, I like to start the things off with a dad joke, and my grandchildren do the same reaction as Joy just did. Richard, thank you very much for coming along, and we'll leave it over to you now, and everyone will mute while you come on.
All right, thanks very much, Barry. Please, if you need any clarification while I'm talking, just unmute if you'd like and ask me while we're going through. But firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm meeting on right now, which is the Darug people, and to acknowledge the traditional custodians of wherever you are coming from, the lands that you have there, and to pay my respects to both to elders, both past and present and future. And yeah, look, I am in my Aboriginal education room at the moment. We do have a high Aboriginal population at our school, about 24%, I believe. And we have an Aboriginal education officer who's not here today, so she let me use her room, and it's really, really nice in here. As you can see from behind me, we do have a lot of Aboriginal cultural things around. Look, I'll start by letting you know a bit about myself. Been in education for 20 years in the public system, all in Mount Druitt. Been to a few schools. I started at Blackett Public School on a special ed class, then moved over to Crawford Public School, where I am now as a teacher. I left Crawford back in about 2008. I'd been there for a while. Became an assistant principal at Tregear Public School, then principal at Tregear Public School, where I met the lovely Waruni and the Smith family. And then the numbers at Tregear were dwindling a little bit. There was a change of pay scale and a change of principal level for me. And Crawford actually came back up in 2015. So I thought, well, I'll go back to another school if I get a chance, and went for the job and was successful. So been a principal for over 10 years in Mount Druitt. I've seen a lot of things going on. I've seen some fantastic things and some really good support that's out there for schools. I'll start with, look, my relationship with the Smith family, and I'll talk because Waruni's here, started probably around 2013. Waruni and Kimberly at the time contacted the school and offered us some 12 scholarships for Learning for Life. And in those days, when you got an email that said, "Oh, we've got this wonderful thing for you," you always thought there was a catch. Luckily, this time I didn't. I said, "Well, we'll give it a go, see what would happen." And the Learning for Life scholarship was fantastic. We had the 12 scholarships, we put them in, we got them straight away filled out. And when my parents started finding out those 12, the rest of the community said, "Well, why didn't you pick us? And why didn't we get a chance?" And then I know the Smith family were having a little bit of trouble with some of the other schools taking on the offer. And I said, "Look, I'll take as many as you can get." And I think that first year, we were probably up to about 43 scholarships. My parents, the conversation at the start was about, do you have a pension card? It was more about rewarding kids with fantastic attendance. And when we got over that barrier that this is not a fax thing where people are chasing you up and documenting things, that it was a positive thing, the community came on board. It was great. Then we started getting scholarships every year. And I think by the time I left Crawford, we probably had about 80 kids that were going through the scholarship program. So they were able to get the funding and be able to do different things like do their taekwondo after school or sign up for footy, because a lot of those families couldn't pay for the sports registration on the weekends. And that money helped pay for some of their school items and freed up some money for home. So It was one of the most positive things I saw actually happen through a school. I know I left there in 2015. I think it wasn't just about scholarships. We got luggage, so some of our kids had brand new bags for camp. School shoes. One year, our kindy intake all had brand new school shoes coming in. I think they were Blundstones or something, really high quality shoes. And some of the parents, the tears on their face that they went, oh wow, I don't have to get these shoes, and these shoes are for my kids. They were very appreciative. We also had a reading program going on with some of our kids where they could ring up on the phone, talk to an older person, maybe a high school person that could read a book with them and do a tutor program with them. One of the best things I saw was our aspiration day. We worked with the university, and Smith family organised that for us, and it was great. They called it the aspiration day, and I remember some of the things that were being said by the kids when they were coming back. That one of the kids said, "I'm going to be the first person in my family to go to uni," and this is a boy that's in year 6, 11 years old, and he came back the next week with the classifieds of all the engineering ads. He said, "I want to be an engineer." And then he started telling me how much each engineer made, and he started researching everything. And I'd honestly, if I had his details, I'd love to chase him up, because he'd be close to finishing high school and actually seeing how he went, because he was so proud, and his mum came to school with tears in her eyes saying, he wants to go to uni, this is so great, none of our family have ever even finished high school. So even just having that aspiration of wanting to do it was really good for him. So that was some of the great things that I had come out of the Smith family. And when I left at Crawford, I think mid 2015, I was devastated, because I said to Waruni, "Have you guys got anything at Doonside?" And she goes, "Oh, we don't have anything in the area." And I remember Kimberly and Waruni coming to my farewell and actually saying, I said to them, "If you ever get a chance to come to Doonside, come in and I'll get you organised and we'll get it going." And look, we've got, I think, late 2016, they were able to get somebody in our area, and I was so happy to see the smiling face of Waruni again. And yeah, we've been able to follow up the scholarship program again through Crawford. And this way, I knew, after being at Tregear, I knew what the pitfalls would be and the hurdles would be. So we approached it a little bit of a different way, and we knew that we had to get some of our families that were our biggest talkers in the playground to the other parents and show them what a positive spin on this was. And we started with those families with the high attendance and the great families there, and they spread the word. And we have close to 100. Well, we've had close to 100 families in those so many years on the scholarships, and it's just positive. It's part of our kindy orientation now. When the kindy parents come in for an interview, we're not worried about asking them if they have a pension card. We talk about attendance straight away and say, look, if you can keep the attendance up, try and keep it up above 90%. This is what we could offer, and our parents love it. They go in, they say okay, and they know that it's a contract that they need to keep their kids at school, and it really gives them that incentive. And you say it's a positive reward. It's not rewarding people or trying to get people to come to school who aren't coming to school. It's actually celebrating the ones that are coming to school and saying, right, these parents are really wanting the best for their kids. They're trying hard. They've got a lot of things against them, but this little scholarship can help out, and it follows them through the school years. So we've also had the reading program at Crawford as well. It was amazing. Even my teachers at first thought, well, look, a lot of our families don't have credit on their phones and things like that. So the Smith family actually offered mobile phones and said, right, if you're going to do the reading program, we're going to send the mobile phone home to you guys. Now, I had a few teachers that were very skeptical saying, oh, they're never going to get those phones back. They'll have one little reading program and it won't happen. And all the phones came back. I think they were missing one charger And that parent was running around everywhere trying to get a second-hand charger because she was so grateful that someone trusted her and her kids with the phone. And it was great. The kids were excited. They were able to talk to someone who was interested in their learning. The parents were talking about it, going, "Wow, somebody's giving our kids time." So that was a really, really good program. So we've had a few other things, and they've been able to source some Lego for us. So we did some filming for our kids. They were able to move their little Lego pieces around, and it really helped with their story writing. And that was great. We got Lego all through the school. The kids were very appreciative. We've had some bikes donated that we've used for attendance raffles. So every time the kids come, we give them a little ticket, and at the end of the term or mid-termly as well, we say, okay, we'll draw a name out who's got a ticket in the drawer, and the kids love it. So it just gives them that boost to say congratulations for coming. So we've got a few other programs in the school that aren't Smith family, which majority are our Smith family, but we do have Relationships Australia in the school that do a bit of mini soccer tots. That's our kids coming through. It's great to see we get about 60 kids. At the moment, it's meant to be right now through all COVID and everything like that, so we haven't seen our little smiling faces at the moment. But they come in at a soccer program, they run around. It gets the kids used to school. There's a lot of anxiety coming to school. A lot of our kids don't actually attend preschool. So sometimes the first thing they have is coming into the school, big kids, and they're very anxious. So these little programs allow the kids to see what big school's about, go and have lunch in one of the rooms, see the kindergarten classrooms, and kick a ball around and have a little bit of fun. So we've also got Little Possums, which is a pilot program from down the south coast, which was, I think it was called Little Black Duck. It's an Aboriginal mentoring service. So they come in one day a week to our school, and we refer families, or families can refer themselves, where they believe their kids might be having a little bit of trouble, and they do a bit of play therapy. And that's been very successful. It's helped a lot of our kids that have gone up into high school who have that anxiety and sort of have a little bit of difficulty at home as well. So helping them out there. But I think we usually put our hand up for everything that comes, because we want our community to have the best chance they have. And I think everything together, we've seen our best NAPLAN results in last year, which was fantastic. It was the first time the school's ever been above state average for something. So a little low socioeconomic school out in Mount Druitt performing higher than the state average for spelling was remarkable for our kids. So yeah, we've really come a long way, and dropped our suspension rates, and just really put a focus on learning at the school. So yeah, so that's a little bit about me and the school. Any questions at all?
Richard, I have a question. Excuse me. I have a donor that offered, if we ever had a school that needed sports equipment or soccer jerseys or anything like that. So if you ever need anything like that, please tell Waruni, and we'll get in touch with them and see what they can do, because he was really, really keen to support a soccer team or a netball team or whatever. With uniforms,
that'd be great. Yeah, that's one of the hard things. We usually get our uniforms that we'll buy from the school, put them out, and then we use them for about 10 years. And the poor kids are running around in sometimes the jumpers that their parents had run around in. It's always good to know that there's people out there wanting to help us. Sports equipment sort of stuff. We buy lots of sports equipment. We do get money from the government, but we try to put that in human resources a lot, because our kids need that extra one-on-one help. But we buy the balls and the equipment and everything. We try and make sure that our kids understand respect of equipment. But it's unfortunately, when you drive around and you see some of the houses and the neglect that the houses have, some of our kids believe, well, we just use it till it breaks and things, and just move on to the next thing. So we try and make sure those kids are accountable for those things, but we're always making sure they have the equipment as well. So yeah, no, that'd be great. Thank you, Joy.
Yeah, so bear that in mind, yeah.
Yeah. Richard, it's Barry. Do you find
Yep.
one of the side benefits with the reading is that the parents also pick up a bit more of reading skills also improve a bit?
Yeah, look, it's interesting. The parents that are wanting to get their kids on the reading programs and things, they have a different view of school. So they don't have that, I hate school, it was bad for me. They really want their kids to do well, and they love hearing their kids read. That's great. What we find is when a parent starts a conversation with something like, I'm illiterate, we're trying to get them to stop switching off right there, because they try and use that as I'm going to switch off. They always want the best for their kids, but they also don't want to engage in it because they don't want their kids to see that their kids can actually read better than them. So that's a really interesting thing. So it would be really good to see some reading programs for parents and things, but it's the parents that have really got to say, I really want to do this, because some of them have already just given up and said, no, I'm never going to be able to do this. And that's a shame, because we want them to be lifelong learners. We want their kids to be lifelong learners. And we try and offer as much as we can. We give them little parent workshops that they can come here and learn reading skills and stuff to help out with their kids at home. But I think some of our parents are just a little too embarrassed to show that they really struggle with literacy and numeracy skills.
Richard, you've chosen to go into this areas of underprivilege, of lack of privilege, of battling people. You could have possibly have gone for a career teaching on the lower North Shore of Sydney, where you don't have parents who can't read, and you don't have kids who are chronically wagging school. You've chosen to do this, I imagine, because you believe you are doing more good in these underprivileged areas than elsewhere.
Yes, Malcolm. I think I had a pretty tough upbringing myself. I live in the Blue Mountains. My kids have never known any struggles at all. They've been read to nearly every day of their life growing up. And but I was a single child of a single mum, really battling for a lot of stuff. There was a few things in my family that's a bit of addiction and things like that. And I can see a lot of the kids in this area that really need someone to be a champion for them. And yeah, for 20 years I've been here. I could have tried to go for a nice principal job up in the mountains, and they've got their own issues. But it is great to see the change that we can make in kids. Even saying to the parents at the gate, look at your kids skipping in. Look how happy they are about school. That's been great. So I think, yeah, a lot of the teachers that decide to stay down here know that we are really making a massive difference for our kids. It's not just, oh, this is easier because the kids won't learn as much. We have so many different things going on with the kids, and we just know we want them to be safe and give them everything we can.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've my experience. Some of the kids I've been out in Macquarie Fields area reporting, and some of the kids there are really, really tough. Do you have, young criminals and people bearing knives and that sort of thing, and real disability problems?
Look, we did. The culture of the school has changed over the last 5 years. I think when I first started, we did have punch-ups in the playground all the time. And I feel that at the time, the kids didn't think anyone was listening to them. So when we changed that culture of actually getting the kids to talk and go through what they're doing, because you got to understand, these kids don't grow out to be criminals. They don't wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a criminal. They're sort of a product of the environment that's around them, the neglect that sometimes happens. And if we can change that neglect and make sure that the kids feel special from us, we know that we're going to make a huge difference. So look, I know it's COVID this year. I haven't made a suspension this year, but in 2015, when I first started, I think we recorded around 278 days suspension of kids. And this year we haven't had one. So I think last year we had possibly 40 days. And that's it. When you've got 500 kids in a school, you know that things are going to happen. But yeah, look, I'm not saying out in the Doonside community it's not tough out there. There's kids walking around doing what they like, but we do have, that's only a small handful. The rest of the community and the kids are really trying hard.
All right, good.
Okay, is there any other questions from anyone? Well, Richard, look, on behalf of the Rotary Club of Parramatta City, oh, sorry, go Joy.
So if you had to attribute something to the turnaround, what would you say it would be? Or like you've mentioned a lot of things, but what's the main thing that you would consider?
Look, I think the fact that the teachers listen to the kids and actually don't make an assumption of what's happened in a situation, that's been a big thing. And that's a big thing of mine where I say to the teachers, you can't just say this kid's guilty, go and find out what's happened in the situation. But the biggest turnaround, I believe, is the teachers here, before I got here, were employed because they were good behaviour managers. And we turned the culture around from being a behaviour manager to being a teacher and focusing on learning. Now, by focusing on learning, the kids weren't getting bored in class. We knew their levels. They weren't mucking up, and we were able to change that culture there. That my teachers are teaching. They're not just going, right, we'll get her because she doesn't complain about the kids swearing at her or things like that. So, and yeah, we focused on learning, and I think the respect came and everything. It's yeah, my teachers that have been here for the 5 years, they look back and say, wow, we can't believe the change that's happened in the school.
We could do with more of you, I think.
I could do with less of principalship, but
yeah, no,
It all starts at the top.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with Joy's comments there, Richard. Certainly, we need a lot more of people with leadership like yourself. I appreciate you taking your time out to come along to our club today and to give us the presentation and it's give us an insight into being a school principal. I mean, we are all from a far gone era where our school upbringing was probably seen with a different eyesight and a different era altogether in teaching. But you're in a tougher area nowadays of teaching in a community where I think because we're all compacted together a lot more, it makes that interaction even worse. But we certainly did enjoy your presentation, and we'll take a lot away from what you've said today. And certainly we'll be talking with the Smith family about how we might be able to improve their lot a lot with yourself. So thank you again, Richard.
No, that's fine, Barry. And I tell you what, once they lift have a walk around and see what happens in the school, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, everyone. Well, next week we're actually going to get together face to face and be able to see each other over a table. The Novatel's opened up for us, so it'll be good to see everyone back in the flesh. And Richard, if you ever want to come along to a meeting at the Novatel, you're more than welcome to come along and join us. All right,
no
everyone.
worries. Thanks very much.
We'll see each other next week.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Richard. Bye.
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 Bye-bye.